Good evening. This evening I want to talk about the end of the book of Genesis, the closure of the very painful story of Joseph and his brothers. Now, I suppose everyone, however distant or close your memories of the story are, everyone has a basic impression that the story ends happily. That in the end, somewhere, somehow, Joseph survives, his brothers join him in Egypt, there is forgiveness, the whole family lives in Egypt, the father lives in Egypt, Jacob comes down and lives with the family for 17 years. The last parsha, Vayechi, has Jacob living in Egypt for these last 17 years, but the real subject of that last parsha is Jacob's death. It's one of these ironies. Whenever you have a signal at the beginning of a parsha that talks about life, actually you're talking about death. You're talking about the end of a life and a kind of summarizing then of the content of that life. And this parsha, the last in the book of Genesis, deals mostly with Jacob's preparations for death. He calls his children around him, first of all Joseph, and Joseph and his children, and then all the children around his deathbed. And one notices that the leitmotif, the recurring motif, what really concerns him, time and time again, is the question of burial. Take me and bury me back in the family place, in Ma'arat HaMachpelah, in the cave of Machpelah, where I belong. And it almost seems a little obsessive. Even after he's finished blessing his children, one after the other, the last words he has to say before he draws his feet back into the bed and dies, have again to do with burial. There seems to be a concern there. And indeed, what follows is a very long and circumstantial description of how Joseph fulfills his promise to his father, and all the brothers take the father's bier and carry it back to the land of Israel to bury it there in the ancestral burial place. And then they return to Egypt. And then follows the very last moment of the story. And this last moment, which should be, perhaps, you would expect it to be a kind of dying fall, it would just be a kind of calm resolution to the story. Suddenly, at the very last moment, there's a resurgence of anxiety and turbulence and fear, all kinds of emotions at the very last moment. It's a very unusual way of closing a book. I'm thinking about how one tries to close a book, how one tries to close a life. After all, that's what burial seems, in a sense, to be saying. You want some kind of closure, to close things up. And I want to begin my exploration by reading you this very short story that occurs at the end of the book of Genesis.